Welcome to another video from War Backwards is Raw. The title of this video is I Fought Myself in a Civil Raw Battle, or it could be entitled The Split Persona of the Civil Raw. I would like to issue a warning to you. This is a cognitive dissonance warning. Cognitive dissonance alert. What you are about to see will conflict with what has been placed into your mind and brain, and therefore it will be very difficult for you to adjust to what I'm saying in this video. However, I would encourage you to continue on and keep watching this video. The sources of the photos in this video come from this book, Civil War Battles, by Kurt Johnson and Mark McLaughlin, published by Fairfax Press. So we are going to take a look at 5 battle scenes and commanders: Bull Run, Petersburg, Chancellorsville, Atlanta, and Mobile Bay. I apologize that they're not in good, correct chronological order for you, but we will go there and explore each battle and their commanders, the Northern Commander and the Southern Commander. So first, let's go to Bull Run, which we are told happened July 21st, 1861. Okay, here we are at Bull Run, and our 2 commanders are Irwin McDonald and P.G.T. Beauregard. Now, the first thing I'd like for you to notice is the part in the hair. As you can see, the part matches Mr. McDowell's part in his hair, matches the part in the hair of Mr. Beauregard. Now the next thing I'd like to show you is what I call a little fluff or a little puff in the hair. If you look how the hair is kind of puffed up here, as if it's curly and uncooperative, and forms just sort of like a little hill or a little mountain. And then you'll see the same effect over here for Mr. McDowell. Now the next thing I'd like to draw your attention to is the mustache. Take a look at the mustache on Mr. Beauregard. Now go over to Mr. McDowell and take a look at his mustache. I would like to draw your attention to the hair that was grown underneath the lower lip down to the chin on Mr. Beauregard. Now I'd like for you to project that little hairline over here to Mr. McDowell. And of course, add some more hair, glue it on, or grow it, whatever you'd like to do. And basically you're looking at the same individual, the same persona. Now the next thing I'd like to do is point out the ear. Fortunately, this photograph, along with the other photograph, was taken in the same position. So we have a good look at the left ear. I will attempt to take the camera and enlarge the left ear of Beauregard. Try to familiarize yourself with the pattern of the left ear of Beauregard. And now I'm going to swing the camera over to Mr. McDowell, to his left ear, and see if you can see the great similarity between the ear patterns. Well, I apologize for the equipment. My videos are rather primitive, and I'm not hung up on the fact that I'm not highly skilled in creating videos, nor is my equipment high-tech. However, I hope that my points are high impact on you. So let me take you now to the next location, which will be Petersburg. Okay, welcome to Petersburg. And on the left we have the Northern Commander, Mr. John Gibbon. And on the right we have Mr. Ambrose Hill. Now, once again, I'm going to draw your attention to certain facial features. I want you to take a look at the nose of Mr. Ambrose Hill. And now jump on over here to Mr. John Gibbon. It appears to be a very strong, good match. Now, another thing we can do is, once again, we can take a look at the ears. And the ear pattern of Mr. Ambrose Hill's is kind of hidden a little bit. But I'll try my best to get the camera to show you both patterns at the same time. What is also very interesting is that they're both in almost the identical pose in the photo, as if the authors of the book or whoever wants you to see it and realize that it is one persona who has been split into two. Now we're going to go to Chancellorsville. So welcome to Chancellorsville, and welcome to Mr. Hooker. On the left, the North, and of course the famous Thomas Jackson, known throughout history, as Stonewall Jackson. Once again, we can look at hair patterns and the forehead. Look at the pattern of hair on Mr. Jackson. How there's this cut and this void here, almost creating a little hump. And look, you'll see a very similar thing on Mr. Hooker. You can also see how the hair comes down and forms, and it is pretty well seen on Mr. Hooker like an M. And that's very interesting too, the letter M. However, one of the best things that we can do, once again, is to take a look at the ear. Take a look at the left ear of Mr. Jackson, and then the left ear of Mr. Hooker. If you're looking carefully, you'll see a very similar pattern. Now, one other feature I want to show you is we're going to go to Mr. Hooker first. Let's look at this sideburn that he has coming down off of his hair. You can project that and see that actually right here. So let's add some hair, let's glue it on, and basically you'll see the formation of another character. And of course, Mr. Jackson is roughed up a little bit. He's got some dark circles here under his eyes, but Mr. Hooker is portraying and emanating and almost radiating light. As you can see, the lighting is different, the shading is different, but essentially you're looking at the same persona. Next we go to Atlanta. Off to Atlanta, where we meet the famous William Tecumseh Sherman. And of course, on the right is Mr. Johnson. Now, once again, if you look at the forehead and look at the ear and look at the facial features, I think you can see essentially you're looking at the same persona. But once again, on the left, Mr. Sherman sort of emanates light on his forehead and on his cheeks. And if you look closely at Mr. Johnson on your right, you will see that Mr. Johnson has been darkened a little bit, perhaps some grease paint on his face, perhaps some shading with lighting, whatever techniques could have been employed at the time to contrast the two characters. Mr. Sherman sort of showing the light and Mr. Johnson kind of showing the dark. And once again, we'll try to go to the ears and allow you to see the ear patterns, and we'll see if we can keep them both within the same frame. Now once again, the same idea, the ear pattern on the left is illuminated in light, and the ear pattern on the right is darkened and kind of roughed up, and perhaps even some grease or dirt or something has been rubbed near it and by it to kind of give the effect of one is light and one is dark. All right, now we're going to go to another location. And this location will be Mobile Bay. That'll be our last location. This is a rather easy one to see, and I hope you can see it almost immediately as I attempt to adjust the camera a little better here for you. On the left we have Mr. David Farragut. On the right we have Mr. Franklin Buchanan. Now, start with the nose. Take a look at the nose. Let's just compare the nose on the right and the nose on the left. Let's take a look at the lips. And let's take a look at the facial expression that's given by the lips of Mr. Farragut and then Mr. Buchanan. The lips accompanied with the facial expression seem to be almost identical. Now once again, the light and the shading seems to be very important, because on the left, Mr. Farragut, it is very clear and illumined with light and almost radiating in a sense from the facial features. And then on the right, Mr. Buchanan, his facial features seem to be gruffed up, perhaps a little bit of dirt smeared on him, perhaps some whiskers that he grew and they added some grease or dark paint on it to contrast him with the light. He's kind of a shady character, so to speak, by the photo, not necessarily by what's recorded in history. And if you look at the forehead, you'll see pretty much the same shape of the skull and the forehead. And then of course the hair is kind of a different story, but we'll start with Mr. Farragut. And if you can just imagine that these are like pieces of string or rope, and if you can in your mind eliminate this so-called hair here, you'll see how his hair above his right ear is puffy, and you'll almost see the identical puffiness with Mr. Buchanan. So remove the hair on Mr. Farragut on his head, look at the skull shape, add a little extra hair right over here and fluff it up a little bit, almost like a piece off of a carpet or a piece off of a poodle, and then kind of darken everything a little bit, and then collapse the cheeks on Mr. Buchanan. Have him hold his air in and sort of collapse his cheeks, and then over here in Mr. Farragut, have him puff his cheeks out a wee bit. Now let's go back to the nose and back to the lips. And if you take these lips and put them over here and put these lips over here, you'll see how very, very similar these commanders are. So in this video, I've tried to show you the commanders of 5 battles. And the first is Bull Run. The second was Petersburg. The third, Chancellorsville. The fourth, Atlanta. and the last was Mobile Bay. Now let me talk just a little bit about what I mean about the split persona. Essentially, there's one actor, and that one actor is split into two roles: the good and the bad, the white and the black, the north and the south, the winner and the loser, the friend and the foe. In other words, it's controlled by one source, and the source doesn't care whether they are the winner or the loser in any particular battle, because they are in charge. And the commanders of these particular battles are under their control. This video will, I'm sure, trigger some questions in your mind, and perhaps in future videos we'll explore some of those questions that you might have about this whole idea of splitting the persona into two roles: good and bad, white and black, north and south, winner and loser, friend and foe. So once again, the title of this video could be I Fought Myself in a Civil Raw Battle, or the split persona of the Civil Raw. Remember, war backwards is Ra, drop the W, and you have Ra, the false god from Egypt, Ra, which is just simply another name for the devil or Satan. Signing off for now. I hope you'll watch another video.